Today's episode is brought to you by the Hippocratic Collective. Check out our shows and join the conversation at thehippocratic-collective.com. Hello, I'm Joan. I'm a Canadian family physician who also works as a restorative medical educator, facilitator, and coach. I create spaces that rehumanize the work of healthcare. I'm creating this podcast to remind myself, as well as anyone else working in a helping profession, that when you are working and caring for your human patients, you are the other human in the room. Hello there, healthcare humans. Thank you so much for coming back for another episode of The Other Human in the Room. I actually have two humans that I'm looking at across my screen today, which is a privilege. And only the second time I've had like a couple on the podcast. So I am so excited to have this particular power couple to be gracing the airwaves of this podcast. So I would love if you each could introduce yourself, please.
Of course. I'm Joyce Cheung, and I'm a family doctor and a palliative care doctor.
And I'm Angelique. People usually call me Ange or Ange, depending on the French accent here. I'm not in medicine. I actually have a PhD in economics.
You're only married to medicine.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, still double doctor household. Doctor squared. You're covering your bases.
Absolutely. PhD is the original doctor. We respect that. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're like the, applied science version that like kind of stole doctor away from PhDs, actually. The MDs.
Yeah. We're much more basic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend who always reminds the story that you just said, that PhDs are the originals, and she's a PhD, so very attached to that story.
Absolutely. And she can just keep singing that song till she wants, like as long as she wants, right?
Agreed.
So good. So I'd love to hear a bit about, I'm thinking of where to start. I think, Joyce, I'll start with you and hear a bit about your journey into medicine. So just to get to know the healthcare human, what got you interested in medicine to begin with?
I actually never really thought about going into medicine. As a teenager, I think I enjoyed more literature and writing and English, and I was like, but if I do a BA, I think I'm more limited, so maybe I'll do a bachelor's of sciences, like just being very practical.
Mm-hmm.
And then in university, you're thinking, what do you do with a bachelor's? And I guess I will write my MCATs and try for medical school. I guess being a doctor is, very prestigious. And of course, my Chinese parents will be very proud. So living for other people's expectations sometimes, but very fortunate to stumble into medicine and, again, stumble into family medicine and palliative care and really enjoy the clinical work and the day-to-day. And so that's where I've been for the past over a decade.
And then, Ange, when did you enter the chat? Was Joyce already a physician, or like where did you join the journey?
That's a very good question. So you're already in practice for, I think, 4 years when I met you?
Yes, just before the pandemic. So 4 or 5 years at that time.
Yeah. And I learned a lot for the past 6 years, marrying in the field.
It's not easy being in a medical household. A lot
No,
of,
for sure.
a lot of,
A lot of meetings in the evening.
Yeah, working around different schedules, meetings at night, working on weekends. So thank you for
My
your
favorite
patience.
my favorite is all the when you have calls. When you're on calls, I get to hear very incredible stories sometimes.
Well, sometimes it's kind of funny as well, but
Yes.
anyway,
So it's been 6 years now that we actually our dating anniversary is coming up at the end of the month. So 6 years.
Amazing. And it didn't make you run screaming, hey, all of the different schedules, like, yeah, like committing to someone who is in the medical field has obstacles. Did it ever give you pause?
No.
It was We had a lot of obstacles, actually.
Yeah.
I think now maybe we're on the other side and, it worked out so we forget, but we met before the pandemic. I was, and then Ange was finishing her PhD. I was working in the hospital quite a bit, doing call, palliative care during the pandemic. It was really stressful, and we just met, and uh, Ange was overseas, and there was a period when she had to come back at some point because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And she was on one of these rescue flights from Morocco back to Canada that our prime minister had sent to Morocco to rescue our Canadians because the
Yeah.
Moroccan king had closed the border. And so we had just met for a few months then, and she had subletted her apartment and had no place to live coming back to Canada during the pandemic.
Yes.
And so she bravely decided to crash with this healthcare worker who was sent to the hospital. No vaccines at the time.
Yeah.
Um, so we made it through that. Um, and then for a few years, we were actually long distance in between Toronto and Montreal.
Yes. After the PhD, I started working for a consulting firm that had an office in Montreal, but not in Toronto. So we started 2 years of back and forth, taking the train, flying. Uh, we
Gosh.
made it through until our engagement, and then I was like,
Yeah,
"This is it. We're getting married. I'm moving back."
but we thought about, would I move to Montreal? I looked into
Yes.
the licensure, the language requirements. I would not meet the language requirement.
Yeah, me neither.
So that was a huge barrier. Um, but it's something that even though I was, an established physician, it wasn't that we had to suddenly move somewhere for my residency or fellowship. Um, but it was still a consideration because we hadn't
I mean,
completely settled.
the fact that you had, you have your practice here, you have years of experience, your colleagues, like you're very set in Toronto. So I did, even though I moved to Montreal at first, I knew I would have to come back to Toronto here because Joyce was so established. It was more like it was a different perspective than maybe other couples' story. But for me, Toronto is home now. I'm originally from France, but I really feel like Toronto is my home. So I was happy to come back because I feel good here, but also because Joyce is here.
It's nice when those two things match. Your person and the place are both connected. Yeah. Oh, lovely. And it's one of those things, like, it could be so make or break in a relationship, right? So when tough things happen early, sometimes then it brings you closer together because you realize, oh, this is a person who will show up through tough things.
That was I think so. I mean, the pandemic and long distance and even being queer, I would say. Um,
Yeah.
very different
Yeah.
experience.
Joyce came out to our clinic when we got married. It was beautiful.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh, my heart. I mean, now that's something do you want to talk about that a bit? I think that can be very personal, but it's something that is certainly not a unique experience in medicine in that there's plenty of queer people in medicine,
Right.
and it can have its own um journey in terms of like internalized stigma and like real homophobia, how has that been for you in medicine?
I think in medicine we are a bit more conservative. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's just my experience. But even in medical school, we did not have a lot of queer folks in my class. And up until 2 years ago, even though there were doctors and allies that would march at Toronto Pride every year, um, our association was not officially part of that celebration. And up until 2 years ago, the OMA did officially join and support and organize. But it was really funny because every year we would just gather a bunch of folks and we would be marching. Not me personally. There were organizers that did all this work, um, and we would be marching in alphabetical order. So the parade was, it would be Ontario Nursing Association next to us, unofficial Ontario Medical Association or the Doctors and Allies. And, the nurses would have this big float and they'd have t-shirts and they'd have everything, the speakers, and we would be this little group behind them. So it's really nice to see that, even our provincial association has come out to support. And now, we have more staff, we have t-shirts, we have, the flags.
It's I love every year walking with all the physicians and now the OMA. It's very nice.
Well, that's great. I don't think I knew that it was just 2 years ago. That's so, yeah, sometimes the physician groups can be very late to the party, especially of doing things officially.
Yeah.
While meanwhile, like, I've always been here, but actually making it official can take a bit longer than you'd hope, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. So, but everybody's been very supportive. It's funny because I wasn't particularly not out to
Yeah,
the group, but I think as doctors, we don't focus on our personal lives, especially if it's more with staff or with colleagues that you don't know very
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Um, and so not everybody, wants to talk about your personal life either.
sure.
Um, but when we got engaged, I did show the staff, okay, this is the photo, and I did say, yes, there's no man in the picture. That is the person who proposed. Like, that woman man, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And was it received well? I'm hoping so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, "Are they confused looking at my phone?" They're
Yeah.
like,
I'm
"Oh,
like,
okay."
what?
Surprise.
I love that. Well, if you're gonna come out about an engagement, you know what I mean? Like it's what a fun way to do it.
Yeah.
Happy
Yeah.
surprise. Oh, so then okay. So I know, so you're practicing medicine, double doctor household, finding your way back to each other. And like, I don't know, it was you were bored or something, or you didn't have enough to do, but then you decided to like also like go found a startup.
Yes. I
So
mean,
what's up with that?
organic. It was
Yeah.
part of our discussion about thinking about the future. And, Ange is in corporate. So, I mean, you can tell the story about your question
Yes.
that triggered everything.
Yeah, I love the origin story. So, and it goes really well with how we were discussing our background and how we met and the engagement. So we got married in October 2023. And as we were planning the future, I did ask Joyce, well, in medicine, like how much time off do you get for maternity leave? Just so I'm a planner, so I needed to kind of start thinking about things in the future. And she just looked at me, being like, "Oh, it depends, you know." I'm like, "No, in corporate, I know exactly how many weeks I get and how much money I will get every month." She was like, "Well, it depends because I need to find a locum." And I'm like, "What's a locum?" She's like, "Oh, it's, coverage physician that will take over my practice." I'm like, "Okay, how do you find that person?" And she was like, "Well, there's a Facebook group where I can post and ask if someone is available."
Basically it. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the most fancy way, really, actually.
Yeah. And or phone a friend,
Yep.
like a friend of a friend of a friend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, "Oh, it would be nice if we had like some sort of like Airbnb for doctors, where we can find someone. And it's easy and you do everything in platform." And at the time I was like, "Yeah, it would be great, but maybe not for us, maybe later."
We're thinking for sure someone will take this idea and run with it, and it'll be all good. By the time we need this, we'll just order our locum on the app and sort out the dates and the payment, and that will be it.
So then we waited a bit, and then mid 2024, I was still working in consulting, and at that time I finished a very big case, and I had a few weeks of less work. So I thought, well, we still need this platform because no one has built it, and we were in the midst of like planning our IVF journey. So I was like, I don't want to rely on the Facebook forum to plan my future as a planner. This is not possible. So we need a platform. And I also knew that I was very interested in learning more about being an entrepreneur. So being a co-founder for Locum. But I also knew that Joyce is very interested in she's very into medicine. She wants to help in like system building, but also knew she did not have the capacity to be a co-founder. So I put a list of who do I know that I trust and has the technical side to build search platform and understand really like why we're doing this. And I found our co-founder, Eve. So officially, Joyce is not the co-founder, but she's a very, very important part of
You're married into co-founding.
Yes,
I guess.
exactly.
I offloaded, I delegated
Yes.
idea,
Love it.
and I hypnotized my wife to take this on.
Yes.
And then she pulled in a bunch of volunteers to also take this on. So medicine takes not just, it's a family business, but it's a community business.
For sure.
Exactly. So that's how Locum started. So Joyce is the official medical advisor. She's the one who really built the community within the platform. So we started with this thinking, we want to build something that is designed by physicians for physicians. That was very important. And that's how Joyce built our medical advisory council, constantly talking to physicians about it, and every week working with us to make sure all the volunteers know what we're building and the reasons why we're doing what we're doing.
I mean, this is to have a locum pool is an ask that even our association knows this is something we really need. And this is something that, when people need a break, they really deserve to have the break that they need. I remember when we were first putting this together, we actually were putting out a call out on Facebook for volunteers and for people that would be interested in telling us what their experience trying to find a locum or being a locum is like. And someone reached out and said, "Hey, is this platform up? I really need a locum. I'm going for chemo tomorrow."
Ugh,
And
heartbreaking.
to know that that's probably not just one incident. We don't have the data, but I'm sure that does happen where people are sick. They are, worried about themselves as they should be, but they're also worried about their patients and how their practice will survive in their absence. And we have no tools to make this easier for physicians. And it's probably something that could contribute to burnout and unwellness when people just say, look, it's super hard to get a locum. We all know this. There's a lot of friction. Well, maybe I'll just push through. I won't take time off and I won't take that break that I really need. We won't get sabbatical. We talk a lot about um, physicians or family doctors in general. There's been some ideas that family doctors, everybody should have one, just like if you're, a child and you are in a school district, you have a school and you have a teacher, right? So we're comparing teachers to doctors. But, when you look at the teacher system, if they need a sub, they call up a sub and for sure they'll have a sub and they have a way of doing this. And also, they have additional supports and, pensions and benefits and whatnot that physicians don't have. But if we want to make the comparison, I think it's only right that we have the same infrastructure to support doctors so that we could have that, we could be there. And right now, for us to look for a locum, like, if you needed to be away or whatnot, it's really luck of the draw. If you post on some forum, if you know somebody who happens to, do locum work, and then you kind of cling on to them and then maybe they'll come back. Um, and even the paperwork process of applying to be a locum, you have to fill out all the paperwork, you send it to the ministry, you have to wait a few weeks. Um, and then there's, accountability, because sometimes people might say, yes, I'll show up and do this for you. And then last minute, they're not able to. And really, then you have no coverage and your patients are left without coverage, and without access. So we're really hoping that, we could help and solve this puzzle.
Yeah, it's so needed. Like I relate to it from both sides. So like when I first graduated, I did locum for a couple of years, and I had early experiences where as a new grad, I did some research, I asked some other like people who had graduated a few years ahead of me, and people were saying like, yeah, make sure you get a contract, here's the kind of rates. And I remember meeting with one doctor, and he's like, okay, yeah, so can you cover me for these months? And I was like, that sounds good. If you can just send me a contract so then we can like confirm it. And then he never got back to me. I then found another position and was just let him know, like out of courtesy, like, hey, I know we never formalized it, but I found this other position now. So just FYI. And he's like, are you kidding me? I already booked my vacation or whatever. So like even pieces, and I felt terrible, but also not that terrible because he never even responded. But this is the thing, like there's sort of weird locum culture stuff, and a bit of it is, I suppose, intergenerational, or just like there's like a shifting culture even around locums. And one thing that's cool about like a platform like yours is like it would just to make an established process so everyone can kind of like have a norm that protects everyone and supports everyone. Like both parties can feel, because that's what a contract does. Like it's a nice thing, so everyone's on the same page. But depending on who you're talking to, they're not even used to thinking about a contract, and that can mean either people back out last minute or get canceled last minute, and that's someone's income and your plan. So like that side of things. And then also then once I had my own practice, I've had two kids. The first one, I'm now realizing in retrospect, was probably just like a unicorn case where like I literally posted in one Facebook forum, and the
Wow.
same day someone's like, I just came to town, and so I was like, this is so easy.
This is like, that's amazing. You need
It
to
was
get
magical.
a lot of.
It was in 2017, so maybe it was slightly easier, but I think also it was just like the universe looked out for me in that one respect, I guess. And so then the second one was like, first of all, it was like I got pregnant in the end of 2019. And so
Mm,
I'm looking as,
right.
Wuhan, China is coming into the news and situations are happening. And I started panicking because like I worked all my networks, I posted all the places, and I just the thing that worked for me is like not the Facebook things, but like truly like working angles were like asking every single person I could think of until someone found me a lead that actually said yes. But I know I'm actually in some ways lucky because there's people who do that and then they literally find no one. Like someone actually who was my locum was on mat leave, and she had to, what's quite common now is she had to cobble together multiple locums
Hmm.
just for availability. Like often there isn't someone who can do the whole thing. And so you're kind of doing this patchwork quilt, right? And some of that's simply, we need to really like celebrate locums and like kiss their feet. And like there needs to be an established career and not like just, or like the thing, like it's really important to have backup. And so like really having the supports to like actually have that pool formalized, I think would be fabulous. But then the piece that you're doing, I think, is so amazing where, maybe the pool, if you actually tallied it all up, is out there and rich, but people just can't find each other.
Hmm.
And so it's one of those things like, why doesn't it already exist without you needing to make it?
Right.
But isn't that how it goes for all like kind of important startups that really take off the ground, right?
We hope so. And to address that piece about accountability, so,
Yeah.
we did hear about that. And so we put in, it's optional, but a deposit system so that,
Oh,
both
cool.
sides, if there is
Yeah.
a flake out,
Hmm.
last minute cancellation, then, you sort of lose the small deposit.
Yeah.
Again, just sort of as an incentive to say, hey, you know, you both agreed, let's at least give them the time to book somebody else, right? So
Yes.
that they're not scrambling when they have to be off or stressing out about this. Um and the management of monies part also was another issue we heard about, and our goal is to enhance transparency. So on the Locum platform, um, all the profiles are verified with CPSO.
Nice.
So either they are physicians or they are recruiters. Um, and and if they want to, we've partnered with another company to handle payments through the system. And so we hope to, for a very small fee so that you're not chasing down, checks and that sort of thing, or getting money in an envelope.
In a briefcase.
But I have heard a story about a specialist told me a long time ago. He worked in a clinic and he won't do it again. And he was handed a crumpled envelope at the end of the day. And
Well, we have a payment system that handles
Yeah.
transaction
That's
for a
great.
very, very, very cheap cost if that's something physicians are interested to use. But
That's cool. So you guys are thinking beyond even just find the locum, like you're thinking of how to make the whole experience of hiring slash being a locum smoother on all sides, eh?
I really liked
That's
when you
amazing.
said it's not just a locum, it's a career. So as an economist,
Yeah.
and I did work on labor topic throughout my PhD and research, I am fascinated to see how the labor market is changing and the trends that a lot of more junior physicians do enjoy locum work and see it as a long-term career. And I think
Yes.
platforms like Locum is something that makes sense in their day to day as this is a career. They have a profile, and they will have this um, like they can manage all their shift. They can manage their career within digital health. Like it's not something that they do on paper or by email. Like we have the technology to support their work. So I really, really like to think about that. And going back also to that end-to-end experience, it's not just posting, it's not just a job board. We wanted something dynamic. We see the
Yeah.
two sides. We have the information about locum physicians. We know their availability, their preferences. We have an algorithm that matches them with opportunities. And we have this new feature where they can thumbs up or thumbs down whenever they like a posting. So then we get to learn about their preferences and give them better matches in the future. So it's something that is very dynamic that we're trying to build together with physicians and make sure we hear them and we hear what they want to see on the platform.
Cool. It's like they're not swiping, they're going up and down, but it's like kind of a dating profile situation as
someone
well.
did say you guys sound like you're Tinder for locums. And I said, maybe not quite Tinder, but we're sort of like Carms, but
Yes.
binding. So
There's
Carms.
still with some a bit, not fully binding, but still some acknowledgement of these are real business transactions, actually.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. And they're very important.
yeah,
And I think, there's also this equity piece where we've spoken to people in more rural areas, rural, northern, and underserved areas. And those communities rely on locum physicians coming up and doing some work. And that is, a majority of their healthcare access. And so, the system's not great for that right now. There's payment issues and there's always lots of opportunities there. But again, there seems to be this friction. And, if there was a way, for example, as a very privileged physician in a large city with a practice, if I could say, book a locum for my practice here, and then I could schedule myself for 2 weeks in a rural or northern community so that I could give back and go help that community there. Um, and if I could do this all in one spot, that would really encourage me to be more mobile with my practice, even within the province. Whereas we have a ton of physicians in, cities and, larger centers, academic centers, and the university hospitals. But once you venture outside of those zones, it's really difficult to get care. And we don't think about physician mobility in that way. Even within the province, we talk a little bit about it, nationally about national licensure and, how can we work towards that. But I think, that's one thing that hopefully our platform could help with, as a tool to decrease that friction and get people to match, and they can organize their schedule so that they could do this sort of thing.
Yeah. So how's it going? Are people using it or is it still in development? Like, where are we at with the platform?
Yes. So the platform is called Locum with a V, locvm.ca. But we pronounce it Locum, just so when we say Locum, it means the platform most likely.
Yeah.
So we started a beta version in March this year, 2025, and very organic. Like it's all self-funded, so we don't have any budget for anything. We just decided to see the reaction of physician, get feedback, and iterate on it. And now we have more than 240 users. Uh, we had matches already, so that really shows very good traction. That shows that there is interest in the platform. There is a use, people like it. And I think what's the best part of this project, I really call it a passion project. Like I do have a full-time job. I work in finance. Uh, but this is something I do after work and on weekends. And I really, really enjoy it because of what we're building, how we're trying to help with this gap for physicians, but also for communities and people in general. And everything was built by non-physicians, even though it was all designed by physicians, more than 40 of them that helped us. And no one is paid. We're all volunteers. And
Um,
I think that goes really well with the work you do, Joan, on your podcast, in terms of non-physicians. We saw the human in the other human in the room. We know
yeah.
that that's something that is needed in the physician community, and everyone is working extra to be able to build it as volunteers. So I found that fantastic. We had more than 10, 12 volunteers helping us out in the past few months, and everyone is so passionate about what we're working on.
Wow. That is, it's always quite heartening because I think when you're in medicine, part of why you feel like you can't display your humanities like for the public and like for the patients, and partially because it's like that would be scary or bad, but also a fear that they will then kind of shame you or something. So it's always beautiful when that lie is pierced, and it's like, no, obviously we're all human, and it's in everyone's best interest if physicians can take vacations and can have coverage. Like it's like literally, of course it's for the physician's benefit, but it's obviously for like the public's benefit too if we have a system with less gaps in care.
Absolutely.
It's really nuts that it doesn't already exist. Like the more I talk about it and think about it, I'm like,
I found it so
Yeah.
funny. One of my very good friends, she's very passionate about locum. When she saw that it existed, she's like, "This is great. I cannot believe we don't have that in Canada. Can I tell my family doctor about it? I've never seen him go on vacation for so many years." And I
oh,
was like, "Well, I'm sure you can tell him. I'm sure we'll, welcome the information."
yeah. And is it something that if people want to, they can sign up for it now? Like it's open for anyone who wants to?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
free to sign up and to use. Um, I was just gonna say a thought, and then I just blanked out about the human in the room. Ah, so we were at Startup Fest. So this is like a huge festival in Montreal. And we were pitching, Locum, our platform. And first of all, people didn't understand why it's LOCVM. And I say it's locum is a Latin word, and in Latin,
No, I think it looks cool.
yeah, well, you just thought it was stylistic. But actually, the U and V are interchangeable. So we decided to go with locum with a V, and also the other locum was taken. So that was easy.
It was
Easy enough.
Joyce's idea.
Yeah.
We liked it.
Yeah.
So good.
And so we asked the audience, there's like hundreds of people in the room, and we asked, hey, which one of you has a family doctor? And the lucky few put up their hand. And then we asked them, what do you think happens when your family doctor goes on vacation or they have to go on medical leave or parental leave? And nobody knows. So the public doesn't really know. They don't think about it. Um, I think somebody said, well, doesn't the hospital or government just take care of it?
That would be nice.
And they're shocked. They're absolutely shocked that we're going on internet forums to try to look for a substitute, and that there is no formal centralized way to find a substitute. And you think about, well, why are these people, why are like almost 1 in 2 Canadian physicians burnt out? Do they take breaks? Do we have that data? Um, and I think this is like a public awareness um, issue, because everybody thinks that, aren't you just like teachers? Aren't you like nursing? You know, you're public servants, and we kind of get, looped into those categories, but we don't have any of that infrastructure to support us. Um, and it's so important. And I think, with the newer generation, yes, like most people, they start off, they might want to locum for a bit just to see, what the practice style is like, what the group is like, is it a good fit? But also at end career, we've
Yes.
had, established physicians decades into their careers, and they say, look, I'm not quite ready to retire. I'd like to continue working, but I can't work at 100%. I could work at 50%. But is that even possible? Because then you're looking at practice sharing, and you're looking at, or maybe a long-term locum, and it's not that easy to find because that's not in our culture. So we're asking people, either you're here, you're 0, or you're 100, or we don't want you. So that's sort of, the message that maybe within medicine we send to each other. Um, and I think that has to change. People are balancing work and life differently nowadays. Um, and I think that would allow for people to stay in the workforce. Like, that would allow for physicians to stay in the workforce for longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and like when you think about how many people are scared to start a practice, and that is a sort of priority. Like, we would love if more family physicians open their own outpatient practice and have patient attached. Like, that's like a government goal, right? And but you also hear all the time people saying, like, I don't want to marry a practice and then I'm trapped in it because, and often, like, never mind vacations, but like a lot of times it's part of family planning. It used to be like, oh, I'll wait till I get a practice because, and if I'm in a there'll be some amount of funding. But now it's sort of the opposite, 'cause it's like, I'd rather locum and then I'll be unpaid, but like I won't have to try and find someone. So I'll actually delay starting a practice even further because it's actually too hard to go on parental leave when you have a
Right.
practice. Like that's a solvable problem.
I mean,
Absolutely.
we hope
We hope
we hope to
so.
solve it.
Yeah.
It's really the exciting part of having a startup and building this passion project. It's thinking that there is a very clear gap that we see here, and you both are physicians, so you've experienced it. But even
Yeah.
the regular public, like when we explain the situation, no one understands how come we have this gap. So we built a platform thinking about all the different gaps and trying to address them one by one. Because we're all self-funded and we have very little budget, what we do is we develop one feature at a time. We get feedback and then we get a new one. We go in the
Yeah.
community, we ask, what do you all need? And we will try something out and then get your feedback on it and continue tweaking it. And that's how we've been expanding in the past few months. Excited for new stuff coming up. So check the platform out. And something new, actually, that we are launching today. And you talked about locuming when you started as a physician. We have a locum newbie guide. That's something that came out from the forum
Uh,
that a lot of physicians were curious to know more. So we put that together. I would love to hear your thoughts if you have more experiences that we could include in the guide. So that's something that we also want to share with folks that are looking for advice. Same with a template of like contract and agreement. We're working to get something easy for locum to use and incorporate that within the platform. Have some sort of a kind of a DocuSign feature that if you want to have your contract and platform, it goes to both emails. Everybody receives it. So continuing building on decreasing the admin burden that physicians experience, make locuming something like Joyce was saying, like we're selling a fully a dream one day that you can take 2 weeks off, go somewhere in Ontario to take over a practice. Someone can be here in the city where you usually work and work for you for those 2 weeks, and everything is smooth, easy, no more friction. That's really like our long-term vision with locum.
that's very cool. Yeah, this is like bringing back flashbacks. I like me like searching various like organizations' websites of like, where is no someone has to have written a sample contract.
Right.
Someone had and there was these different checklists and some of them were like kind of too long and but really it was like me having to kind of scrabble it all together.
Right.
So the idea of having something that's like a summary and especially that's been made by the people who like most recently have been the newbies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's going to be so relevant.
Yeah, and there's so many questions on some of our forums about remuneration, and
Yes.
rates are always so different, and depending on, how many patients you see and how big the practice is. And I think, that causes a lot of stress too, because sometimes it feels like there's no transparency in terms of how you get paid. And,
Yes.
if you're a new locum, you're a new graduate, um, you know, we hope that people don't feel they're being taken advantage of, right? And we see some of these stories that people are so afraid to post. They post anonymously and they ask, "Hey, this is what's going on, and I wonder, is this reasonable? I'm seeing tons of patients, way more than usual. It looks like, and then they're not really being, paid fairly." And so we hope that with these resources, the newbie guide, with a standard contract, people see, okay, these are the ways that we get paid, which is very complicated,
Yes.
but
Had to
you just
learn.
have to be, just be aware that, these are all the ways, whether it's a stipend and then whether you get shadow billing and then you get non-OHIP billing, et cetera, and you have to negotiate all of those different pieces. Don't forget about it because, it's hard enough as a new grad to navigate, the business side of medicine. And I don't think we're really taught anything about being a co-owner or anything like that. And people are really afraid of doing that. I think, we're moving more towards, you know, I don't want to take care of a business. I want to practice medicine. And there might be a gap where, then either big companies come in and they'll dictate, okay, we will run the business side, but, you surrender your autonomy and the big business will run the practice and you come in, you're an employee, and that's it. Um, so, it'll be interesting if people are, how that trend, sort of evolves over the next few years,
Yeah.
next decade. And I mean, if we get to make an impact, a positive impact, and we get to
We're already making a small impact, but we just got started.
That's amazing. Any impact is huge and it will have a ripple effect, right?
Yeah. That's
I think,
really the hope. And also as like women founders, which is something that we don't
yes.
see in entrepreneurship that much, queer founders, volunteers, like it definitely took a lot for us to, feel confident being like, we're actually helping, and we put it out there and we saw all that positive feedback coming back our way, and we're like,
Yeah.
we got to continue. I got to continue
Yes.
to work after hours and weekends to make this work.
And hopefully you guys can find what you need to stabilize it so it's not such a hustle forever. That's the dream, I would imagine.
Yeah. Eventually, yes, we'll have to think of a way to, as we bring value to physicians, if there is any way we can introduce some sort of
service,
small,
a service
small
fee or
fee.
something like that, a
Yeah.
fee. Um,
Like we have different ways that we're thinking of monetization, obviously, when the time comes. Uh, Hopefully, that's something that everyone will feel like instead of spending hours scrolling through things and days,
There's value there for sure. Yeah.
they would have to post once and then wait to hear back and get an email saying they got, a match, and then be able to just take that. That's definitely the goal. But something also very positive working on this project was learning more about Joyce's world. Uh, Now I know when I hear anything from the OMA or on TV, I'm like, I know exactly what they're talking.
I'm in the know now. That's awesome.
it is. It's a whole culture, right? I mean,
Yeah. The acronyms.
Yes.
acronyms, like, what is a faux? What is, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a noodle soup, of
Yes,
Almost, but not quite.
course.
That's
We have
great.
so
Well,
many of
now there's
these
going to be
things.
Faux Plus,
Faux plus, yeah.
right?
So that will be interesting and more details to come. That's really exciting too, though, that we're sort of moving towards recognizing the admin burden, and also the hourly, direct hourly work that people are putting in. So hopefully that will roll out to, more physicians, not just the faux plus physicians,
Yeah.
which are a small group, but lots of other physicians that are fee for service, could benefit from that too. Um, yeah.
And the thing well, one of the webinars I went to, the physician on there said that it was going to apply to faux locums as well. So,
Oh, perfect. Yes.
so then that, and so this is not like the word of the law, don't take this, but that's what the webinar doctor
Yes.
said. In which case I was like, what? That could be a game changer because it would make locums so much more affordable. Like you'd still top them up because it's $80 an hour and that's typically below market rate. Most
Yes.
places, I think, lots these days. But like the top up would be way less and they could still earn same or even more than what they're doing because the shadow billing's more and now they can do the hourly. So I feel like that could be a big game
That would
changer for you
be
guys as
huge.
well.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's more so how's the billing gonna look like, and
Yeah.
everybody's wondering about that. How do we track our hours?
Yes.
Um, but hopefully that will allow more people to actually afford locums.
Yes.
Which is the other topic, is it's sometimes people are losing money on bringing on a locum because they can't afford the locum rate, and that is a deterrent. And to have that as an issue and not be able to take time off because you can't afford that, um it's sort of, it's really tough. And we've had all sorts of stories, some people on our medical advisory council, um who had a family member, her mother was really ill, and she, really needed to be there but couldn't find a locum. So she worked through her mother's illness, she worked through her mother's passing. And I think it really weighs in on people, and they think, this is we're not allowed to be human. We are, we have the doctor hat, and of course it has its privileges, but it's like we get punished and in certain in other areas.
And that story that just mentioned from one of our doctors on our medical advisory council will be featured on our social media soon. She shared it because she feels like other people should hear her experience and how difficult it was for her not to find a locum at that time. That was just very important navigating everything. So we'll have a few stories that some physicians have shared with us because they believe in, of course, the platform that we built, and also our mission to help in moments like that where you really, really need support. You don't have the time and the capacity to find your coverage, but then there is technology in 2025 that makes sense, that is here to help you and hopefully support you through that.
That's so meaningful. And it just like it furthers the impact of your company because it's like because it's shedding a light on a bunch of issues, right? So, and I love like socially like social mission motivated business. I do think I feel like that's a lot of what I do as well. And so I just feel like we're very aligned. I'm like, you guys are my
Putting that
people.
wellness
So
piece in
great.
there, and I think that's the
Yes.
main goal, is that, you know, we hope that physicians get to be human and they get to experience these things. And we've all heard of people taking very short parental leave or none at all. I, we've definitely seen that. And at some point, though, you might be resentful. At the end of the day,
For sure.
people might have regrets, and how terrible is that? That, oh, yes, you have this great career, but, you missed so many things. And that's one of the things that we say balance, right? We always tell medical learners, trainees, you need to find balance. Um, but there's only so much time in a day. And the practical ways of finding balance, we often don't really have an answer for. And some of that might be you do need to step away from your practice at times. And, there should be a tool where you could find coverage so that you don't have to stress and add on to your emotional burden, or financial burden.
Yeah.
So
That's sort of our mission.
I
We
mean,
don't have a
that's the large mission, but the motivation of like our main mission was making sure the day we need Joyce to get a locum for her maternity leave, our experience, our fertility experience, we want to make sure that she finds one very quickly. Uh, so that's definitely that was my main motivation at the beginning. I was like, I need this platform up and running before we need it. So hopefully in 2026 we'll have some good news. If you see a posting on our
Yes.
platform that we're looking for a locum for Joyce, everyone will know what that means. So send us some
Oh my
good,
gosh.
baby dust. So that's
yeah,
what we
baby
say.
dust.
Baby does. Oh, I look forward to the day when that does happen for you guys, for sure. And it often is that like the thing that is closest to your heart. It's wise for that to be the thing that you're spending your time doing, right? Because so it things that are selfish and self-serving, I'm putting quotes around that, are brilliant things to spend your focus and time on because you'll have the fuel for it. And especially when you have that in your mind though, like what serves you serves others. So you found a way, you haven't created some like secret list that you're not sharing with anyone at Locums. You're like, oh, great. Well, I'll build this so then everyone gets to benefit, but also we get to benefit.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly that. We don't
It's
have
beautiful.
a locum pool just for us. We are
Yeah.
sharing the locum pool with all physicians that need it.
Yeah. So
Typical
good.
type A people were like, okay, we're just gonna have to do it ourselves.
I know. I do. And, general, I support doing that. Not for all things, but for some things, it's worth it, right? That can be a kind of balance. So some clarifying things. Is this just for physicians in Ontario right now?
Right now, yes. So the
Yeah.
beta was focusing on, we wanted to have some sort of a proof of concept that what we're doing is not actually working, because developing a platform for Canada as a whole or for other healthcare professions would be a lot. So first we wanted to see what's going on in the Ontario market. It's going really well for the early traction that we got with absolutely $0 spent on on much. Um, so the plan next will be to open up to another province. So we're hopeful for next year as we continue working on that as volunteers and part-time, and eventually have it open for the entire country for physicians. Of course, the long-term goal would be having this tool as an overall practice management tool for physicians when you need to hire nurses or other healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
Well, that will be within the platform, but that's a very long-term goal. For now, our focus is really physicians.
Okay. And it's across all the specialties?
Yes.
Yes.
We're
Cool.
the only platforms for we have a lot of family medicine postings right now, but we do have some
Yeah.
more. It's just again finding the locum pool is harder in specialties, but hopefully more physicians will join, and then we can help with removing the friction in job search.
The other thing
Yes.
is
Well,
that the Facebook groups are for family medicine,
A lot.
a lot of them. And so some of the smaller specialties are, specialist colleagues don't really have the same resources and, rely even more heavily on word of mouth and whatnot. So, we really wanted to ensure that we have this platform that is for everybody. Um, and we have had some questions about, I'm trying to staff my clinic and I really need nursing staff in this time, or I need medical office assistant in this time. You know, when can you guys help us with that too?
Later. We
it's wise to pace it out. I like your incremental approach is a healthy, sustainable approach.
one day at a time. We want this project to continue feeling like a passion project, not something we
Yeah.
have to do, because we started. We want to be excited every day. Like every day when I log in on my personal computer to work on it, I'm super pumped. I have lots of ideas. I'm like, oh, today I'm going to tackle this. I'm going to work on the guide, and I'm going to do some like
Yeah.
coverage. And it's been super fun. And then I tell Joyce like all the news, and then she tells me her ideas. So we have that also within our relationship. It's been very fun to work together. Like we went to Startup Fest together to pitch. That was such a cool experience where I was like, I cannot believe we're here. We're entrepreneurs and we're pitching. This is
Yeah, you are.
yeah, this is just so it's been a very exciting journey for sure. Meaningful and exciting. So I don't know if you have a lot of Gen Zs listening to your podcast, but we talked a lot about Facebook forum and Facebook group for 2025, and they're probably so confused. We're talking
Sorry. I mean, are there secret TikTok groups that the Gen Z actually, well, no, this is in the States. Apparently there's a giant Slack group, but it's in the States. It's a whole different thing. But there's but again, it makes it even harder because it's like not searchable.
yeah.
Right.
And yeah, I should ask my like medical learners because they're Gen Z, be like,
Do
what
they
are you
even know
doing?
what Facebook is, right? They're just
I think they know, but they don't think it's for them.
Probably.
Like there's that like first 5 years of practice group. And like, first of all, I'm still in it
I'm
and I have
still
more
in
than
it.
10 years. I'm like, are there anyone here that's actually first 5 years or is it just
A decade later, we're still milling about. Hey, hey
Hey.
everyone.
So true. This feels a lot more. First of all, and it's like off all those platforms, which like, nicer to just have
Yeah.
something that's only serving this purpose and is not also trying to like
Be
steal your attention and mine your data.
Yes, we don't do that.
No, thank you. So good. All right. I said we'd have to cut ourselves off at 60 minutes, and here we go. This is what always happens. So if people want to find Locum and what you're all about, where can they find you on the internet?
So it is Locvm, LOCVM.ca. We are also on social media, so we would love for folks to follow us and see what's going on if they're not ready to use the platform. We also have a mailing list. I personally send a newsletter once a month. I do not bother people more than that, and keep it very short with fun updates on features and always asking the community if anyone has thoughts on what we can build next. We always recruit folks if anyone wants to join our medical advisory council, if anyone has ideas. We welcome all that. This is something that was built with the physician community for the physician community, and we want it to continue that way.
And we're open 24/7.
Yes.
I mean, we
You
won't.
can log on anytime.
Yeah, you can log on anytime.
Find that match at 3 a.m. if you want.
We do get
Great.
a lot of evening signups.
I was thinking the same. I was
Yeah, I
going to
bet.
say it, but usually I wake up to a couple of signups.
That's great. I feel I gotta sign up. I have no immediate need, but I just want to be in there. I want to be messing
You
around.
never know. Where
Yeah.
was that? Where was that beautiful town that we wanted to go to? That would be also vacation.
Oh, Lake Bernard.
Oh yes, there was a Lake Bernard Locum, and we were
1
looking,
week.
and I thought that would be amazing. But again, like I would have to find a locum for my practice,
Or your lab.
and
Yeah.
then I
Plus full
could go
coverage.
to beautiful Lake Bernard.
Yeah, we
So
do have I should have checked how many locum postings we currently have, but we do have a lot starting at different dates, different locations in Ontario. So if anyone is interested to check it out, they should.
Please do. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. It was so great we had the privilege of meeting each other in person, which is so rare and fun. But I feel like I know you both so much better after this hour together. So thank you for everything that you shared.
thank you so much, and you got a 2-for-1. So
Yes. That's because like, it was like, it should just be Joyce. I'm like, but if you wanted to be the both of you, I'd like love like hearing
Thank you
behind the
for
scenes and the
having me.
couples. Of course. And both doctors need to be honored. The doctor squared of it all. Come on.
You're making all the PhDs so happy right now.
Yes. Respect on all of the doctor names. It's all good. Like all the efforts, all the acronyms. Actually, one more question before we go, which is my last question, and I'd love to hear both your answers. So I always try and think of like folks listening, and in this case, maybe people who are either locums or looking for locums, or even just more generally, like I know I need help, but I'm struggling, and I especially like I don't know how I could begin to get the help I need. And I'm thinking about that both in terms of what your service does, but how each of you have had to like ask each other for help at different times. You've had to ask a whole community of volunteers to help you, what kind of advice or encouragement would you want to offer to folks about getting the help they need, sharing the load, sharing the work? Because there can be a lot of I have to do it myself in medicine, you know?
it's really funny that you asked that. And I think because doctors are subject matter experts in one area, sometimes we tend to think that we could do everything.
Yes.
And it became very apparent early on that there was no way that even though I had this idea, pitched it to some friends, they were like, this would be a great idea. We need a locum platform. It's like Airbnb for locums. Sounds great. But I needed help with, you know, building the tech piece of
Yeah.
it. I'm not coding, anything. And also all the business development and ensuring that, we are compliant with everything and insured and et cetera, et cetera. That's where Ange and Ev, our other co-founder, comes in. So it's really hard to delegate as a physician.
Yep.
And we did have some arguments about, whose role is what.
Yeah.
But we were able to say, I have my medical advisor hat on. And so when we have our hats on, we can say anything, nothing personal.
Correct.
That's good.
Literally
That's a
sat down
good rule.
together and we said, okay, let's put the hat on
Yep.
and just talk honestly about, the platform. And that's worked well for us.
Yep. I think that's a very good, I wouldn't say advice, but yeah, asking. It's always hard to ask. And even as woman entrepreneur, I follow a lot of accelerators programs, and I'm part of one currently that is for women entrepreneur. And the ask is always the hard one. Um, Somehow I don't mind asking, but I ask when I know this is again, I'm very passionate about the project and I'm putting the hours, I'm putting the time, and I will never ask someone to do the same if I'm not doing it myself. So that's something that to me is definitely very important in any ask. I don't know if it's a good advice.
We're not used to being helped. I think we are the helpers. I had a patient, talk to me today and she said, "How are you? Because you guys are the doctors, you're always helping people." And I said, "Thank you so much for asking.
Oh,
Thank you.
it's touching.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking about us as human beings and not just with our doctor hat on, serving a role."
Yeah. But if anyone identifies that they do need the time, they should take it. Like life can be long and short, but when you identify something for yourself, and if it means taking time, even though no one else is doing that around you, that's fine. That would lead to something else later. You take the time for you, you have new experiences, you try something new, and then you come back stronger to whatever you were doing before. So I think listening to your gut feeling is probably what folks should do if they're not sure.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful advice and encouragement. Thank you. I feel like I needed to hear that as well. So I asked the question for others, but it's like, it's like for a friend, but it's just for me. So thank you.
It's really tough. And I think there were lots of times when we had roadblocks.
Yeah.
Tons of times
Yeah.
roadblocks. It didn't seem like we're going anywhere. You talk to people, they're very excited, but maybe they promise you things and it all falls through and you think, is it because our platform is just, not that great of an idea? Um,
Yeah.
but we keep pushing through and so
And I'm
far
glad.
we've had some small successes and we're still here. And I think, wherever this goes, it's a big learning opportunity for us. And I think that's how we have to face, any sort of setback. We say, what have we learned from it and why did it happen? And we sort of dissect it. And I have to thank my wife for that mindset. Um, she loves failure. It's
Yeah.
No,
It's
you need to actually.
it's not a doctor's thing, I find,
no,
because
we're not
Joyce,
used to
I know.
failure at all.
We need to love it more, actually.
Yeah.
It's
she's
truly.
so used to, everything going her way, which I'm so happy, I'm part of all the accomplishment marrying me. I'm kidding.
Oh God,
Absolutely.
we're cutting that right now.
No, that's stays. That stays.
I learned so much from failures in the past that I guess now I'm no longer scared. And when things don't go my way, then I want to fight harder. So whenever, someone will, would not necessarily not believe in our idea, but we're trying to find a partner for the payment system. And everyone closed their doors. All those big companies, they were like, no. And they were charging so much money. So I worked really, really hard for a month to find a partner that they're fantastic and they charge so little. Like
Wow.
I'm not going to say how much because it's never seen before for this kind of transactions. So at the end, all the rejection and the failure on the way led me to be like, no, I'm going to find the right partner for our platform. And we did find that partner.
So good. Well, thank you again to you both and all the best on your ongoing journey. And I'm cheering for you for sure because you're the kind of humans that need to be in the healthcare space, helping us to really practically supporting us to be more human. So thank you. And to everyone listening, thanks for listening to another episode. I hope you find a way to ask for some kind of help or support this week. Delegate one task. You can do it. And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
I would love to take this work deeper with you. Visit joanchanmd.com today and discover my growing menu of options for restorative medical education to suit your learning needs. I offer one-on-one coaching, customized workshops, and self-study courses that allow you to connect not only with my work on a deeper level, but also with other healthcare humans just like you. So if you want to start humanizing your work in healthcare to a deeper level and do it in community with others, please visit joanchanmd.com and find those options and what fits you and your life today.